Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Christiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to another episode of the Total Boss Podcast. Now, as you know, I am your host, Christiano Green, and I am a gay men's relationship coach, helping gay men find, create, and stay in long, happy, loving relationships. Now, this week on the podcast, I wanted to talk about tips that you can put into play almost immediately that's going to help you move from that first date to a second date. Now, so many of the clients that come to me struggle with getting second dates. They find that, the main problems is that they struggle knowing the kinds of men that they want. 2, their profile doesn't really portray them in the best light as to who they really are. And 3, when they get on the dates, how do they build rapport properly and get on more second dates? So I wanted to jump in today and talk a bit about that and give some tips as to what you can do on that date that's going to increase your chances of connecting, building a proper connection, and then, of course, having more second, third, fourth, fifth dates with people. So you might be someone who's great at, landing first dates, but find that some reason second dates rarely follow. No need to panic. Maybe, in some instances, the spark is fizzled quickly. Maybe one was more interested in the person than the other. And this happens all the time. Or maybe, somebody else came along who's caught their attention. These things happen, right? There could be a million reasons, but none of them change the fact that the second date won't happen. If you found yourself going on more dates than you have time to keep up with, that really lead you nowhere. First of all, you're not alone, right? This is a common thing. Second of all, if you're looking to have more dates with the same guy and maybe, eventually turn into a boyfriend relationship, partners, except like that, here are some tips that really should help you out. So, number 1, talk about something meaningful. Do you find yourself having the same boring conversations on every first date you have? What do you do? Where are you from? Where did you go to school? How long have you lived here? If you're talking about nothing interesting, then your date won't think that you are interesting. Take a risk. Expose something personable about yourself. That's going to lead to an in-depth, meaningful conversation. Ask tough questions. Discuss specific issues that are out there in society, maybe politics, and even talk about some of those embarrassing drinking stories. Just stuff that's going to bring out personality, and also make someone feel comfortable to share more of who they are as well. Be interesting by saying something interesting. And FYI, the date is screwed, when you get to the point of asking, what does your sister do? Think about that. Questions are the answer. Talk about something meaningful. No, another one is pay special attention to their interests. Like talking about something meaningful, you want to pay attention to what their interests are right away. If you've got any time to talk before the first date, find out what kind of dates they like. Are they a dinner and movie type of guy? Do they prefer something, romantic and intimate? Do they like sweets or do they completely avoid desserts? Paying attention to little things that they tell you about themselves will go a long way to prove that you're interested and you'll hopefully be able to hold on to their interest as well. Another one is find those common interests, right? When I meet someone who still reads comic books on the first date, that always guarantees a second. Sure, just because you both read comics as adults doesn't mean that you should be together. But because it is something niche, it's something that the two of you can bond over. So people get excited when they share something in common with you, especially if that thing is common, is something that is silly. or taboo. Just really figure out what are the things that you like to do that are the same, and then you can talk about it. If this is travel, you can talk about your traveling trips, where you want to go, things like that, right? That's going to keep the conversation going and flowing and probably build more of a connection, right? Another one is play a bonding game. Sometimes on those dates, it can be kind of awkward. People are shy, and you just really need a good icebreaker. Many people become super nervous, right, on those first dates. So it's probably beneficial to play an icebreaking game to just get the conversation going. An idea could be, ask me a question you want to know. Then you can answer. Then you can share a fun fact about me that I think you should know. And then it becomes, it's your turn. And then you kind of, rinse and repeat. 5 rounds of this should get your app, get you through the dinner and get you to know a lot about that person. And it's really important that, you can get a chance to connect and find more silly things about them. And having a list of, questions, in an icebreaker is a great way of you being able to be prepared and move past some of that shyness that you're going to have as well. Another thing is try to end the date on a concrete note. At the end of the day, instead of going through the usual, we should do this again sometime, make your intent clear that you want to see them again. I know it's opening yourself up to rejection, but, you could say something along the lines is, I know you're busy with blah, 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 but I would definitely, love to see you again sometime next week if you're free. This gives them an out, which is good. They can say they're too busy, or conversely, you can schedule a second date right then and there. Don't end first dates in the gray area if you don't need to. It can be easy as that to get the second date by locking it in already at that point. Another thing you can do is avoid discussing exes, things that are going to turn you off right away. Now, we all have a past, we all have dating history, and we all have things that are going to turn us off. However, while important to discuss those things at some point with your significant other or people you're dating, maybe sometimes leaving those things off the table for the first date is a good idea. Your date doesn't want to have any internal comparisons about people you've dated before, whether they're better than them or not. Additionally, pulling up a laundry list of things that bother you may also be a little off-putting. Make sure it's positive. Keep it in the positive. Don't talk about, I broke up with my ex because of this, or, this is what I don't like, because it's just going to put a negative spin. And then, if your first impression is a negative spin, then that's what they're going to think about you of. So remember, try to leave a positive first impression as well. Another thing is you want to share your passions and be interested to learn theirs, right? While we do have our listening ears on, we should find out what our men are most passionate about and also share what motivates us the most. This is a great way to break down some walls without getting too personal, and it also helps you find out more about your potential partner. Who knows, sharing your passion could also help you find more common interests, right? And there's never anything wrong with that at all, right? Another one here, which is going to be a little bit controversial, so calm down before I say this. Try not to have sex with people on the first date, right? There's obviously nothing wrong with that, right? But if you notice that you tend to sleep with guys on the first date and afterwards they don't want to see you again, then it's probably time that you withhold sex until you get to know the guy a little bit better. Sometimes the taste of something maybe isn't the thing that's going to get you to the next step, right? A little bit of, mystery can sometimes go a really long way. So holding off on sex until you get to know someone is a good way to build up some of that mystery and to then, allow yourselves to get to know someone before you then become, sexually intimate with them as well, right? Another idea is come up with some better first date ideas. Think about what are something fun and different that, the person you're taking on a date with isn't going to find the norm. If everyone's going on dinner and a movie or a walk down a beach, right, all those silly things, think about something that's a little bit different, a little bit fun, that is more memorable, because, you want to think of things that are going to be creative and maybe active that, because when we get our endorphins running, doing things more active, you start to feel more happiness. So if you're doing something that's a bit more active, the likelihood that you're going to build up those endorphins that are going to put you in a positive state, that's going to remember the date in a positive light, and also, be different to the many other dates you've been on. That's a way that you can get more second dates, because someone goes, oh, this guy is different than the average guy, right? Another easy one is don't wait for someone to text you after. If you had a good date and you like the person, text them the next day. And if you don't think it's too aggressive, even that same night, there's no reason to play games. You shouldn't wait 72 hours or whatever it is that people say before texting, hey, are you free again this week? If you like them, make that clear and try to see them again sooner than later. If you wait, something may pop up for that person, right? Or he may already be excited about the next guy. So once the ball is rolling, just keep it rolling. Momentum is a powerful thing. Another one, though, is to be careful of is don't become one of those stage 5 clingers. I don't think you should be playing, hard to get, even though sadly it does work sometimes more often than it should. But at the same time, you can have great first dates with guys only to receive a number of texts right away as you step away onto the train or into your house. And then you receive half a dozen more when you're brushing your teeth, talking about the future, and blah, 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 right? Get excited about the man that you're dating. Be honest before coming, but you should keep it cool. You don't want to lay it on too thick because, there's nothing like having the first date, planning the wedding kind of conversations or feelings that automatically, puts it in a do not contact me again category, right? Be careful of that as well, right? It's about trying to feel authentic with something and not doing it to, manipulate or because you're feeling insecure, right? Do what feels authentic to who you are. And if that means texting the next day, that means texting that night, be authentic and real, but don't send 50 texts, allow the person to breathe before, and let them reply as well, But don't also put time limits on everything. If someone's going to take 3 days to reply, you've probably got your message that you need to know. But if someone's getting back to you the next day or, quite quickly, then, you don't need to always keep the message going, but just set something up and move forward. And that's a good idea, right? And then when you're on the next day, share more things about yourself as well. Make sure that when you're on these dates that there are actual sparks on that first day. It's very surprising when I have many clients who, get asked out on second dates when the first date was so mediocre, right? I've been on dates myself and, I was like, oh my God, this was a pretty shitty average date. And then I get the message of, oh, that was so great. I really want to see you again. And I'm thinking, well, on my end and my experience, I knew within the first 10 minutes whether I liked the guy, and, whether you want to see them again, which is why first impressions are important. Don't settle for mediocrity, thinking to yourself, well, maybe if I got to know him more, I'd like him more. That definitely comes across as insecure, and the fact that you are needing this more than, wanting it as well, right? You should have a pretty strong feeling right from the get-go. So don't bloody claw something in there because of the loneliness feelings. Work on the loneliness feelings and allow the right person to come along. And finally, the key to all of this that's going to unlock the getting multiple dates is being yourself. We all get in our head on those first dates. We want to make good impressions, say the right things, and do the right things, especially if, we haven't been in a relationship for a long time or even ever. Just take a deep breath. If he's the right person, he's going to like you for you. And if he doesn't, well, you've had plenty of practice with first dates and it's thank you next. He's out there and he will like you for who you are. The best thing you can do on a first date is be true to yourself, be authentic, so that those potential partners know exactly who they are getting. There's no point pretending to be something on the first date, and by the third date, you can't keep up the facade. Be real, be true, and allow that person to connect to you, because there's no one else like you. And if someone's going to like you for you, then that's what you really want to have as well. All right, guys, those are some key tips about getting second dates. And I'd love to hear from you guys. What have been some struggles with you getting second dates? Is it to do with the rapport? Is it to do with something else? Or do you have any other tips that you want to share, or some stories that you want to share? I always love hearing some of those stories that you send me in the DM. So reach out to me on social media. You know where to find me. And I'll be back with another episode next week of the Total Boss Podcast. So always remember, you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now.